Meeting going. We'll start with some introductions. I'm Chelsea Tremblay, Chair of the Early Childhood Education Task Force, and we like to start our meetings, just name who you're representing and a bright spot. And I had a fun time representing the bookstore, accepting the Chamber Best Business or Business of the Year for 2023 this weekend. So that was it took us 42 years, so it felt pretty good to be the one to do it. So it was nice. So that was a pretty bright spot for me. Should we go to Zoom first?
Need more time to find my bright spot.
We can do it. I believe in us. Steve, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Steve Giesbrecht, Borough Manager. And I just got back from my granddaughter's very first birthday party in Portland. So had a great time.
Okay, we have Cindy, yes.
Cindy Fry with Petersburg School District, and I did not fall today in all this slush, so that's my bright spot.
Yes. Everything counts. Yes.
Great.
Charlotte? Okay, we'll circle back, Charlotte. Rachel?
This is Rachel Etcher. I'm with Stedman Elementary. And my bright spot is yesterday I found out my husband is going to be able to be off for spring break. So we'll get to enjoy time off together.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm Stephanie Payne, Parks and Recreation. Bright spot. I had a glimpse of one. Okay. Fisher is in wrestling and doing really good, and she gets to go to regions tomorrow.
Ooh.
So that is my bright spot.
Good one. Do you want to join? Okay, no pressure. Okay. We're hoping a representative from Lighthouse Church will be able to be joining us later. We've had some positive feedback on their interest in the space. The goal of this evening, we're working on outreach for bringing the public in to the process of reestablishing Boys and Girls Club in the community. So I went on the radio today to talk about it with, to help out with Tradio, but also to talk about this a little more in detail. And I got Molly Tiber interested. So she is now on our list of potential people to bring into I think she was intrigued by the concept of helping out as an advisory board member, hopefully, if I'm not putting words in her mouth. So that's one person. And we have a whole other person joining us for the meeting. So, yeah. If he doesn't make it tonight, I think I have his email through you, Stephanie, so I could just send him everything that we have, and then hopefully we could just have a conversation. Because I think I was trying to think of what else would help people get excited, but also have the knowledge they need to decide if this is actually something that would fit for them. And so,
Yeah. And I had a chat with Nathan today.
Yeah.
He called me up and was asking me a bunch of questions, and I've been so removed from all this and I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
But I know that we need them to have space for activities. We need them to have space for like a small office type situation. And then he was asking about insurance. And I was like, I don't know, Rachel's been the one that's really been the primary contact with them. And so that was a question I know that he would have tonight. And so I'm looking through all of these reopening clubhouse checklist, and he was interested in it, but he was saying that, they're kind of tight on storage as well.
Yeah.
Because then he was asking me, Steve, you're going to love this about putting a container at Parks and Rec. And I've just had a conversation with Steve about all these containers that everybody's wanting to put at Parks and Rec. And I'm like, okay.
You mean in our field of dreams?
Right. I just don't know if I could do
Being
that.
at it too.
Yeah, so apparently we're gonna be a container lot. So, and that doesn't really work that well for them. If they're gonna host it at Lighthouse Church, you want the materials and things to
Yes.
be close to you.
Yeah.
So all of the activity items that are needed, things like that. So he had some questions and where he is at right now is, with PIA, I believe, and having a conversation and bringing it up to them and seeing what they could do and things like that. So he's thinking about it, he's interested in it, but he definitely has some questions. And so if it takes you and I and him to sit down and kind of hash things out at a later time, but we'll see what we can do.
Happy to. And it might be a lot of those kinds of conversations that we're eventually
Mhm.
the kind that are, the thing about these evening events is they are an event, which on a slushy, dark winter day, mid fishing season may not be the best timing for some people, but
He
a
had to ask
Monday
his
afternoon.
wife if it was okay, so. Then there's that,
Yeah,
the spouse agreement.
yeah,
Add one more thing to the
Right.
list.
Yeah.
Hey, can I?
So,
yeah.
One more
Can I
evening
/ we,
meeting.
yeah.
right.
It's like Brian's face whenever I'm like, yeah, I'm going to this meeting. It's like, what's it about? I need to know. What are we doing?
Got the Same look.
Yeah, I mean, it is,
Have we heard anything from any of the other entities that were being
So
asked?
Annika is here from the Catholic Church
Okay.
and she was my person.
yay.
And they are interested. You jump in it. They do have some space available. They have kind of talked about some at their meetings have talked about how much, they would like to that they would need to charge us to have that be able to go through. We had I'm sorry, I'm looking back through our emails. We had kind of discussed the building being that you said it was available like 12:30 to 5:30, except for on Wednesdays when you've got some things that are already scheduled there. And that it could possibly go later, but there's just, yeah. Annika, do you want to jump in?
You want to just jump up here? It's a good seat. I promise. It's comfy. Okay.
Nope. We don't blame you.
I
We
hope-
wouldn't, but she made us.
And as of right now, we have a CCD class going on Wednesdays, but it's not for the whole year. It might end in May, but other than that, we do have a space for storage. The conveniency that we are right across the street for the kids
Mhm.
is what we want to bring in and say like, hey, is this the space that is available? Nothing more than whatever they need, so they can have a space for them. And what else? And if it goes from like if we started in the morning from 8, isn't it 7:45 or 8 that you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, we talked about there was a possibility of maybe a before school
Ah.
time or like a summer,
Yeah,
so, yeah, that.
the idea of a morning thing is nice.
Mhm,
Yeah, really
Yeah.
drop off.
mhm.
We have a flexibility for that too.
Cool.
So,
Awesome. Love it. So do you want, I have 10 copies of this pack printed out. How many would you like? Any for these
Take to your
packets? Would it be helpful to take more to bring to anybody
oh,
else, you think?
yes,
Yeah.
there's 6 members of our,
Perfect.
great.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So Annika, I think we had talked a little bit about this, but it's, would it be that space that is that big open area at the back of the church?
Yes.
The hall area, okay.
Mhm.
And then there's kitchen access?
Bathroom
Bathrooms.
access. We can make available a storage area for the office stuff, and if we can consider portable storage that they can just move it in the front for their
Mhm.
desk and all that stuff for the
Yeah.
teachers or whoever is. is going to be in charge.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Awesome.
And there's a lot of tables, chairs are available.
It does seem like a great space being right across the street. from
Yeah,
elementary
delightful.
school. Like we don't have to.
Yeah,
Right.
and open availability to, yeah. Well, cool. Well, I'm so glad nobody else came so you could take all those packets.
We'll look at it.
Yeah, cool. So let's. And I'm pretty pleased with how much between the two MOAs, the pretty little picture and then the house checklist,
Mhm.
that feels like a pretty comprehensive place for groups to talk amongst themselves, you know, and get, if they're gonna get serious about it. I feel like our next stage is to just keep, you know, because it is February. For some people, they may have only, like the PSA was being read for a week, but they may have only heard about it recently. So just continuing outreach, which is funny, it's the stage where we're at too with the incentive program, like we're gonna make up flyers soon and that kind of stuff. And so this is almost the stage of like, do you want Boys and Girls Club in town? Reach out to X, Y, and Z to get involved. Like that's. And because until we have the strength in a program like this would be broad-based community support, not necessarily relying on a space to host physically as well as labor and general involvement, you know? I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking out loud as far as next steps. Besides getting in touch with Nathan, continuing discussion with Annika and Catholic Church, and just seeing how people keep going with that, but getting more. Would this be something that could be a booth at the early childhood, at the fair that's coming up in
I think
April?
so. I think we help get the word out. I mean, the fair is geared towards children that are, you know, preschool and underage, which isn't necessarily Boys and
Uh.
Girls Club, but many of those parents have older children. you know,
Yeah.
that different- So, I think any opportunity that we have.
Because that could be a place where we gauge interest in, would your child be interested? If so, what age are they? Because that's the next thing, is we don't know how many people would actually need or want it. You know, we do have so many activities and so many busy lives and families that maybe we're shooting, we want to think over capacity, like, yeah, this is going to be big for 40 people, but if it's still just 10, that's still like enough to be worth the program, but does mean we can refine our thinking. When's
So
that again?
I am the chairperson for the early childhood fair, so if that is something you want to do, I can put us on the list for just like a table
Yeah,
to have like a little flyer or brochure of some sort and a sign up or, you know, something
think-
like, would you like us to reach back out?
Right, if you're
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
yeah. Because then, yeah, that could be both children and adults interested in it. When is that again?
April 15th. It's a Saturday from 10 to noon.
Fair.
This far enough in advance, I should be able to get some time off. Cool.
Annika, do you have any questions for us? Not that I know that we'd be able to answer them, but we could maybe reach out and get those answers if.
I was just wondering, the only thing that I have is like, when do you guys want to start it? But this is a conversation where we're just getting on the bottom of
Yeah.
that, so.
It's a very nice, optimistically, we'd love to launch into it by summer. but realistically, that may not happen, and we're a little more interested in the pieces falling together correctly than trying to force something through before we're all actually ready, so. We're just chugging along at the natural pace, and it's kind of working. It's getting, it
Yeah.
would be a little awkward if we had 6 groups here beating, all wanting to host, but no one wanting to get involved, so. We have two good conversations going. People starting to join in for like, I mean, it's good. People are aware enough of their own capacity levels of like, yeah, am I really engaged enough to be like fully on it right now? No, but maybe later. So that's not the worst thing. So I like the idea of starting more outreach, just community, like slowly but surely, because all it takes is the right conversation with the right parent who's like, oh, Boys and Girls Club changed my life. Yeah, I will be the hero you need. We don't know who that person might be, but I believe that they're here. Cool. Absolutely, yeah.
In Heather's con and the middle school, high school newsletter that goes out, if they could put a little blurb in that in their weekly emails that go out to the parents. Honestly, when Fisher was there, that's how I learned about a lot of things that were going on in town.
Yeah,
Could we, if it was in the bulletin, could it maybe be a link to a Google form where it's just like my name, my email address, and yes, I'm interested in being kept in the loop about Boys and Girls Club, and maybe even possibly like these are the age ranges, or I don't know. You know what I mean?
that's a good
Yeah.
idea. Yeah, I have never made something like that, but I'm sure it can't be hard.
Oh, it's not hard.
Yeah,
I can do it if you guys want, if we want to just quickly brainstorm what exactly we want.
What the
that to-
questions
that'd
are?
be,
Yeah.
that'd
Yeah.
be dreamy. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
practice. I'll practice typing some
dreamy.
stuff out.
And I can make sure it gets in that secondary bulletin too. I can help with that since I'm on that side often.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Cindy.
Name, email. Interested.
So this would be us looking for kids that would be interested in joining,
I
or
would think so.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it could be both. Like, would you
And-
be interested in, what
participating or joining.
what
as
exactly
a-
would their role be? As I think we'd probably have to define.
'Cause yeah, we do not have an advisory
Right.
committee yet, so
Right.
To be a part of a board or a committee or.
what do they call it? They call it advise.
Or
it's
just interested in if they have kids that would be, they'd be
Participating.
interested in enrolling.
Yes,
And
yeah,
if
so
so,
that,
how
that I
many?
have, like how many kids, so we didn't even know if like this is worth moving forward. But if we're also needing adults to be involved, to have some kind of advisory committee or a board or what, I don't know exactly what it looks like, but
Just put volunteering, because that could
Okay.
be anything from
Right.
baking
Adult
stuff for a
volunteers.
fundraiser
Ask if
to
they're
joining the
interested in
advisory
volunteering.
board. And then this would
Sure.
reach it to us, and then we would be like, what does that mean to you, friend? How much free
Tell
time do
me
you have?
yes.
Because we can take it.
yeah.
Um. So I'm trying to. So the eyes of this will be read by parents of children in the 2 schools, so it would be. Hard because we don't want to sound too declarative, like Boys and Girls Club is coming back. But we also need to project a certain amount of confidence because it is so possible. So,
Right.
I think it could just be presented as a possibility of something that, is being looked into. And if it did come back, would it be something you're interested in? I
yeah,
think it's
'cause
very.
it is
open-
also true that the Boys and Girls Club is hoping to come to Petersburg.
Right.
Oh, that's probably where Heather is too, huh?
Do you mind just letting him know that I'll just connect with him through email with all of this
Yeah.
later.
So
So he can,
yeah, I just wanted to let him know that the door was open down there.
Yeah.
If he was able, so we'll see.
but yeah, take
shows
pressure
up.
off of him.
Great.
Where. he
Oh,
doesn't-
no, you just lay the pressure on.
He
So you make
thrives
things
on it.
happen. He
Give him
does.
more.
He does.
Um.
Could we ask in that survey, like what they would feel their needs would be, like after school or if in the morning?
I think we don't want to sign up for too much. I think we just want initial,
Interest.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
think just interest and then willingness to help in some capacity, in that volunteer capacity.
I can do that, and the elementary bulletin goes out on Friday afternoons. So I'll have it in by then. And the middle school one, does it still go out daily or is it weekly, Cindy?
I think we post it, that's available every day, but it's really on a weekly basis.
Yeah, it's updated weekly. Got it. Okay.
So I have,
All right, I'll share it with you when I get it, Cindy.
I
Sounds-
have the Boys and Girls Club is hoping to come to Petersburg. Fill out this quick survey to let us know if your family's interested.
Yeah.
Because that's your family, and then we have more detailed questions on it about children to separate, okay. I do not, I could have internet at the moment. Pithy enough that they're not bored, but also it gets their attention. Okay, cool. That's one good form of outreach, because then that's also actionable. I don't want to waste a radio PSA on call this person if you're interested. Like that's in and out, unless it's associated with the meeting. But I think at least that's am I wrong? I feel like you're listening to the radio in the car and
Oh, yeah.
you hear
I
the
am.
kids. That's probably the most targeted thing that we could do. If we get some posters designed sooner rather than later before the fair, they could go up places like the library. I'm thinking of homeschooled kiddos would be a way to,
We have a bulletin board for things like that at Parks and Rec. It could go up there.
and that could have a QR code, right?
Yep.
To the same survey.
Yep.
Why not?
Absolutely.
Consolidate.
Why not? Exactly. Exactly.
It's really good to me. That's two outreach opportunities, slightly targeted to general population. We have 2 ongoing conversations, location-based. Because there's no way we can, it doesn't feel good to talk about the employment opportunity of it when we're so far from it being real, unless you can say it'll be at X place at X time and there's no.
Right.
No point.
How many kids they're taking care of.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is if they have a parent to teacher ratio. I know that they were talking about supplying 2 people, but and, and then that ratio is different depending on the age of the kids and how all that would pan out. And whether there's funding, if we get, again, over the ratio amount, how we would fund another person. Their ratios are if the Boys and Girls Club has a set ratio that they have to follow.
I think they do.
I think so.
I think, I may have seen that in an email more than
Yeah.
in these.
I
Right,
think
right.
so.
Just thoughts to think about.
What was that first guy's name?
Our old friend. Who moved on to better things.
Joel. So I was talking to Joel first and then Andrew, and I think it was in the Joel conversations.
Okay, my hotspot isn't working, so I will send that language to you in a little bit,
Okay.
Rachel. I mean, you could probably remember it, but.
Back through all the emails to pull. But,
I think that's also that's a weeds discussion probably that I think they'd navigate with the folks.
I'm not sure if it's completely accurate, but just the searching on online, it's 12-1 for under 5th grade and then up to 15 for over 5th grade. So I don't know about the accuracy on those numbers.
What was the grades again on those? The 12-1 is how? What grade?
12-1 under 5th grade and then up to 15 for over 5th grade.
Okay.
Okay, I found also the email from Joel. This is also tough because this is like an informal, like an email thing, so I don't know how legit this would be. He said they prefer to have no more than 20 kids per staff member. So, but I think that was in the older, he was talking teenagers, I think, too, so. And then they did have club manager, program coordinator, and then youth mentor in terms of the types of positions that they had. So I wonder if the youth mentor would shift
I thought there
numbers.
was two. that they
I
were
think
gonna
the
provide.
youth is more, it may not
One of
count
it's
in terms
dual.
of those ratios, but at least being like a helper or something, you know?
As far as being like physically present, and I would imagine for safety purposes that they would want to have 2 adults present when they're around kids. That's just
Right.
typically the standard.
Right.
Well. Can always just set up more tents in the Field of Dreams. More tents and more storage units.
My parking lot. Thanks, Jill.
I volunteer you. Just show up one day and they're there.
Uh-huh.
Nice and shiny, yeah. Mm,
Well, and this is Steve.
yeah,
Do
the
we know,
wrestlers.
do
Yeah,
we
Steve?
know what, yeah, I was just saying, do we know what needs to be stored? Because that's one of the things we found with those storage, containers, is that if they're not insulated and heated, the stuff inside molds really good.
Yep. And how big of one they would need.
In
if
this
it's-
climate?
No.
You're telling me.
Silly, silly.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. People seem to think if you put it in a big steel box, it's just going to be fine. But anyway, that we're going to need to know at some point what they're planning on storing,
Right.
so we know what kind of container it needs to be in.
No, don't worry, Steve.
in a
I was being
container-
incredibly facetious. I'm not
I
throwing any
figured as
storage
much.
containers at
Well,
Stephanie.
And Nathan was asking me about that too, and I think because he was talking about, if there's possible funding through PIA, I don't want to,
Mm.
over talk here, but if there's possible funding from PIA to be able to help with this, because it would include Native kids in the area as well, not exclusive to Native kids, obviously, but that maybe to clear up a storage issue that a container could be purchased through PIA. But right, in my mind, I'm thinking just, a storage closet for all the balls to go into, hula hoops and, activity type stuff. So, I mean, I don't really even think a container would totally be needed.
No, I
But
think
that's just-
like I'm looking at the cupboards in the assembly chambers. And like, I'm thinking of the mini, tiny, it's so tiny closet at the library and the amount of stuff that they've been able to fit into that, like you can. Cause a lot of this, like, I don't know. It's a couple hours after school. It's not meant to
Right.
be
And all
deeply
day.
comprehensive, deeply
Right.
integrative, it's like,
Going out their curriculum and all their supplemental
Yeah, like,
activities
we're-
and like, it's not,
we're
there's.
doing some coloring and putting on a movie
some
and just like,
crafts
paste and scissors.
sometimes-
we're hanging out in a nice warm space while we wait for mom or dad to be ready, like it doesn't, I don't know, Petersburg loves to go extra and we don't necessarily have to
Yeah.
with this. It's about baseline,
Keep the kids
safe,
alive.
warm, fun
Right.
place. You could probably give them a bunch of rubber bands and they would probably go home with welts from throwing them at each other, but they would entertain themselves just fine.
Right. Yep.
What'd you do today? We shot at each other with rubber bands and I had the time of my life.
And I'm happy.
What'd you do? I made a mummy out of masking tape and sure, it ripped every hair off my arm, but had a great time. So yeah, no, that is an excellent question, Steve, but
Well,
Yeah.
the elementary have a storage outside that the maintenance built over the summer, and it's a successful one that they have right now.
oh good,
And
that's
it's
working
just
well.
So simple how it built and. it's
It is
working.
for our outdoor equipment, so
yes.
stuff that can get,
Mhm.
wet and that kind of stuff. But yeah, our sleds and the shovels the kids are digging into the snow, all that kind of stuff is all stored in
Yeah.
there and that's nice.
Would this be able to also be partially outside? Like, would this be a slightly mobile thing that they could, I mean, if it's at Catholic, like say Catholic Church or even Lighthouse. Lighthouse is right there next to ball field, Catholic Church
Go outside and
next
play
to
some
playground,
kickball
like would they,
In the
yeah,
Parking lot, yeah.
I would think so.
right?
Like
Why
when
couldn't
it's
they?
a
Like, cause
halfway
there's a
decent day,
designated,
get out there.
you'd
Yeah,
like put a sign on the door, we're at the
Mhm.
ball field if you're gonna come get
Yes.
your kid early.
I
kind
would
of
think
thing, like,
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
so options abound. Okay. Well, I'm sure we all would have loved to see a room completely packed with people who love nothing more than to talk children's programming, but I still feel like we're moving a few things
They are.
inch by inch.
But
Thank
it's
you,
the thought
everybody, for your
process of
time.
bouncing
Huh?
Yeah, just the thought process and bouncing off ideas.
Yeah, or like, we've established 2 forms of outreach that we weren't doing before now. So we're gonna get on those. Yeah, as always, stay in touch with any thoughts or questions or developments. And thank you, everybody, for joining. And I don't know when to meet. Maybe towards end of, because I'm sure there will be side conversations, but it does feel good to try to pull stuff together and have a larger call out time. So maybe end of March, month plus.
By then, we would have, everyone would have had plenty of opportunity to complete the form, so we would know, we have a good feel for what parents are thinking about number of kids possibly be involved, and anybody that is like, ooh, that's exciting, I want to volunteer some of my time. And that might help us know.
Yeah.
What we're gonna.
Because if we do, and then it will also be right before the fair. So if we're getting deep into, like, if we're hearing all these kids want it, but we're still missing the adult side of the organizing, then that fair could be a good opportunity for the more in-person push of like, you see us adults sitting at this table, it takes us / you to be involved in this next step because probably cannot be fully us. So, because it is also, I mean, it sucks to imagine, but there's a chance that we can't, like if we put out the survey, we don't get much interest in the kids, or if we don't get that feedback. If enough pieces don't fall into place, this could just be a looming thing that we just know exists and then might come down the line, but I feel like we're doing enough to keep it moving along that I don't want that to happen. I don't think it will. So, okay, so
So-
sometime end of March. Is that too far to plan, or would it help people to have it on a calendar to plan around?
Yeah,
Yeah. Tuesdays are generally better for me than Wednesdays. Would a Tuesday is 6:30 better than 6? No, 6?
Whatever. I was
Earlier
able to
better?
run home, slam together some dinner, scarf down and
Yeah,
came
that was-
in.
That was
But
my
if it was
right.
6, I probably would just wait to make dinner. So,
I drive
whatever.
a half an hour out the road.
Yeah.
So
So sooner is better.
sooner is better.
Okay.
But
Okay.
a half an hour isn't obviously gonna.
We're
break
gonna have
me.
so much light by late March, y'all. We don't even know.
Oh, I
Whoa,
know.
man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be in a whole new world.
And all the sunshine.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so let's say, yeah, it's gonna be a sunny, stunning March 28th at 6 PM, let's say. So that'll just be a general Boys and Girls Club update.
Okay.
I'm hoping we can stay in touch through email with any developments people might have, and we'll keep doing that outreach. And then that will be a good time to solidify what we have. We might have a lot more information by then to present to the fair.
For like Annika and her board.
Yeah.
They can go through the information that you shared,
Mhm.
come up with their thoughts, questions, concerns.
Yeah,
And maybe even if you have those before the meeting, because if there's something that
Yeah.
I need to talk to Boys and Girls Club and get, we can get those answers together for that meeting. Okay.
yeah,
Thanks.
just keep the words flowing, sooner the better, because then if you have some questions, other groups that end up might being interested might have the same, or it might, because they're also working on their own expansion, and so they're probably getting back in the rhythm of setting up new clubs. So they might be like, oh yeah, that is something we haven't talked about recently, or, so. Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Annika. You're a
Yeah,
rock
thank you for coming.
star.
Thank you for coming.